Kahamai Kako. This is Maile Ayu Domingo with Hamaui Local Foundation and the music within. So I am continuing to observe these love relationships that are long lasting, both in friendship and marital. And I was thinking about my mom and my dad and my grandma, because when my mom and dad were young, my grandma had this priest that she befriended. He would travel from Denver, Colorado to Kauai and go to mass there. And my grandma was a daily mass communicant. And one Sunday, Father had announced that they had a visiting priest and that he needed a place to stay. So my grandma in the 1960s opened her home to this priest, and it became a 50-year relationship with my family. Every Christmas time he would arrive, I think the day after Christmas, and stay until February. And for many, many years, he stayed at my grandma's house. And they would have meals together, he would go golfing, they would have family things. And eventually he began to offer mass at our home on Saturday night as our family mass. And it was our family, my aunts and uncles would come, my cousins would come, my mom's friends from church would come. And on the dining table that I grew up at was the altar for our mass. And it was actually one of the most beautiful experiences of our life. And I think what was so evident at the time, I must have been 10 years old maybe when it became a regular thing that I recognized. But what was so evident was how he would offer mass as his gift to our family. And what my family offered him was this years of love, years of relationship. And you know, I remember many times there would be arguments on that dinner table between my dad and the priest. And I think they were hashing out the teachings of the church. They were coming to, struggle, I think, wrestle with the teachings of the church and how they regarded those teachings. And I think in the end, I remember my dad saying this many years later when I became an adult. He said, the thing about being Catholic is, even though I may not agree or understand with the teachings of the church, I'm going to submit my life to it, because the church has 2,000 plus years of wisdom, more than I do. And I'm going to submit. So I may not agree, I may not like it, but I'm going to conform my life to that teaching. And I remember thinking, wow, I didn't really know what that meant until after I got married. And I realized that submission of the will to the wisdom of Holy Mother Church was huge. But what remains in that is that my dad had confidence in the love of the church for her people. Now, did the people execute the teachings very well? No, not really. There were all kinds of reasons where it was, I don't know, not exactly the best. You know how it is. There's concepts that our church teaches, but do people live it out very nicely? No, not really. Sometimes it's kind of ugly, bumpy and stuff. But what is always present for me, at least in regards to my father and how he interacted with Father Kimo, was this fullness of love, because he was always offering an outward embrace to my father's struggle, seeking out and communicating to him what was best for him. My father mentored with this priest, but the other thing was that the priest mentored with my father. They mentored and counseled each other, and it was one of the most beautiful things that I think I ever witnessed. And I knew that men who mentor with other men are hungry for personal growth. They're hungry for guidance. They're hungry for wisdom other than their own, and they're humble enough to submit themselves to that wisdom. And I think that's just another evidence of always wanting the good of the other. Always wanting the good of the other. And the confidence that we can have in the teachings of our church, because how she defines what love is the words of St. Thomas Aquinas. When he penned, to love is to will the good of another. To love is to will the good of another. So in relationships, are we making relationship choices based on how it makes us feel? Or are we making relationship choices based on what is good for that other? The persistent seeking of the goodwill of that other person, regardless of my sacrifice or my suffering. What is the best choice here? And I think that is a great test for how we can regard each other, how we can regard relationships that we're in. And I think more importantly, how we regard our execution of the relationship, right? Are we the ones making the choice for the benefit of that person and not necessarily for us? So yeah, lots of examples in my life of this ongoing, lifelong effort for the benefit of the other. My grandma and that priest, which was just supposed to be like a short, visit thing, turned into every year. Then when my grandma died, my mom and dad took over, and that priest was at our home saying masses for our family. And then by the time my siblings grew up, guess who performed the marriage ceremony? He did. And it was beautiful. He was our confessor. I remember sitting on his lap, and it was a beautiful relationship. I was blessed to have a priest of pure intentions and a priest who communicated the truth of our church, even though he struggled with his own aspects of it, because he saw that the church willed the good of her people. So let's be that same church, the church that wills the good of our people, not only for ourselves, but for the people we are in relationship with. All right. The theology of your body, willing the good of the people around you, is what I wish for you today. Merry Christmas, everyone. May the Word made flesh, who willed the good of the universe to the deepest sense of love, be yours. This is Maile Ayu Domingo, signing off for Hamaui Local Foundation and the music within. Aloha.